Welcome to Fine Line Station, where I read out letters and emails sent by you, the listeners. They are real-life stories about the uncanny, the creepy, and the unknown. I am your host, Charlie Fox, and I hope you're ready to tune in. Hello everyone! Today I have an email sent in by an anonymous user that I wanted to share with you all this evening. Most of the time I plan the stories I share on FLS ahead of time, but I saw this one this morning and I found it so captivating that I had to skip it to the front of the queue. So with that, let's take a wander through their story. I keep waking up in the wrong place. I don't mean waking up in the wrong room after sleepwalking or even after a long night where you crash at whoever's place is closest and it takes you a disorienting moment to even realize where you are. I still wake up in my bed in my own room. And honestly, I didn't even notice I was waking up in the wrong place until someone pointed it out to me. I'll start from what I think is the beginning, at least from my jumbled memories that all bleed into one another. Some feel like distinct things that happened and others like faded dreams. I woke up one morning a couple of months away from turning 16. It had cooled down drastically during the night, so I was covered in both my quilt and a fleece blanket. It had wolves on it, of course, my favourite animal. My window faced the sunrise, something I hated as a kid but didn't mind so much now. The filtered light was passing through my wooden window shades and dancing across my forgotten homework on my desk. It was chemistry, of course. It was the science that made the least sense to me. Eventually I got up after my alarm went off again, towed some slippers on and made my way downstairs to make breakfast. I skipped the 7th stair as always. It would creak very loudly and I didn't want to wake my dad who had just gotten back from the night shift. I fixed my usual easy breakfast, toast with apricot jam, quickly washed my face and brushed my teeth and then headed to the bus stop to take me to school. I met my best friend outside for our first class together. We discussed our English assignment and how annoying it had been, but we were both glad we managed to finish them off in time. The day continued on as normal. I finished school, caught the bus home after soccer practice, and had an early dinner with Dad before he left for work. After more procrastinating of chemistry homework and playing far too many video games, I clocked out for the night. The next day was the same. It had cooled down drastically during the night, so I was covered in both my quilt and a fleece blanket. It had foxes on it, of course, my favourite animal. My window faced the sunrise, something I didn't mind so much as a kid but was not a fan of now. The filtered light was passing through my plastic window shades and dancing across my forgotten homework on my desk. It was biology, of course. It was the science that made the least sense to me. Eventually I got up after my alarm went off again, pulled on my socks and made my way downstairs to make breakfast. I didn't bother skipping the old creaking 8th step. I knew my mum would be up by now and getting herself ready for the early shift. I fixed myself my usual easy breakfast, toast with plum jam, quickly washed my face and brushed my teeth and then headed for the bus stop to take me to school. I met my best friend outside for our first class together. We discussed our history assignment and how easy it had been, but we were both worried the next one would be a lot harder. The day continued as normal. I finished school, caught the bus home after basketball practice and had a late dinner with Mum when she got home from work. After more procrastinating of my biology homework and playing far too many video games, I clocked out for the night. You have to understand, to me, these were the same days. Looking back, I definitely had small moments of confusion or knew that something wasn't quite right, but I would always be able to brush it off as something mundane. Sometimes I would get shivers, like the old joke of someone walking over your grave, or goosebumps all along my arms when I would first say hello to my mum in the morning. It was just the cold, I thought. I would sometimes get that feeling that I've forgotten something, like when you go on holiday and on the plane it feels like you've forgotten to pack something but can't quite remember what. And so I went on, never thinking it was more than that. That's the thing, isn't it? It is deceptively easy to get used to things. I had a toothache when I was younger and got so used to eating on one side of my mouth to avoid irritating it that even after the ache wasn't there, it took a while to eat normally again. Or when you wear glasses and at first it feels kind of foreign to have something on your nose, but then it starts to feel weird when you aren't wearing your glasses. I chose that starting point to share this story because any further back and it gets difficult to recount what was happening. I have a pretty good memory, but it's surprisingly hard to retell what you did weeks ago on a specific day. I didn't actually notice I was waking up wrong until a week or so after my 16th birthday. I was super excited to turn 16 and apply for my driver's license. A lot of my friends already had theirs and I couldn't wait to catch up. The day of my birthday was a Sunday, so Dad had gotten some meat to grill on the barbecue for me and my friends while we watched movies and ate way too much candy. Dad's gift was a blue Toyota. It was secondhand and definitely looked it, but I was over the moon. He said my mum had a similar car when they first met and had always wanted to teach me to drive in it. We both got a bit choked up and Dad clapped me on the back and told me he was proud of the man I'd become. The day of my birthday was a Sunday, but Mum was working that day, so we held off celebrating until Monday. Did I do anything on Sunday? I don't know. It feels odd that I wouldn't celebrate on the day at all, even with friends, but I guess not. Mum got a bunch of stuff to make a huge spread of my favourite foods, like her quiche and marinated chicken. My friends came around that evening after school and we watched movies and ate way too much candy. Mum's gift was a grey Honda. It was secondhand and definitely looked it, but I was over the moon. Said my dad had a similar car when they first met and had always wanted to teach me to drive in it. We both got a bit choked up and Mum hugged me close and told me how proud she was to call me her son. For whatever reason, since waking up on my 16th birthday, those odd moments and feelings started to linger and were not as easy to ignore. It's like I was disoriented every time I woke up and it took me a few seconds to properly realize where I was and who I was. Like it took me a while to pull away from whatever I was dreaming, not that I could even properly remember them. It wasn't until a week later that something else happened. I was at the local mall to shop with friends. I didn't have a lot of spare change, but I had a bit of birthday money and it was one of the few cool places we could wander around. We bought a fast food lunch and settled on a table at the food court. My friends noticed I was a little quieter than usual, and so I tried loosely explaining how I was feeling off the past week and how waking up from sleep always made me unsettled. One of my friends tried looking it up online. He thought I had sleep drunkenness, where I was just waking from a really deep sleep and that's why I was so out of sorts. He may have been onto something, but I think he just liked the name of it. We finished our food and then split up briefly so I could try on some new sports shoes while they went to the arcade. I had a weird sense of deja vu as I walked towards the store, but tried to shake it off and ended up sitting down on one of the benches in the mall for a moment to recover. And then a strange man sat down next to me. He was quiet for a moment, but then asked in a low voice if I had noticed how the lines were blurring. I didn't expect to be spoken to, so it took me a moment before I asked, "Excuse me?" He sighed and then said I shouldn't be worried, that merging things together often creates something more wondrous than the individual parts. I frowned and told him that wasn't always the case. Look at the atomic bomb. I had just finished an assignment researching Hiroshima and was becoming unnerved by this stranger. He finally turned to properly look at me and narrowed his piercing green eyes. He must have been in his mid-20s or maybe a bit older. He had dark hair and was wearing black clothing to match. He spoke again while looking at me. "I suppose you have a point, but you could argue back and forth and in circles if the use of the atomic bombs was either a necessary evil or a crime against humanity. Anything worth it will always be controversial." I was kinda over this random stranger by this point and shook my head as I got up to leave. He grabbed my arm and the instant hair-raising fear I felt was almost overwhelming. The last thing he said to me in a sharp tone before I pulled away was to stop being ignorant and embrace what I had accidentally unlocked. I practically ran to the bus stop. I messaged my friends as I caught my breath that I wasn't feeling well and was going home. I don't know why speaking to that stranger is what finally made me aware of what was happening. I still wake up each morning alternating between each version of my life and continue on. Now I know why everything feels a bit off sometimes, or if I get confused where I left something the day before. I know our brains are pretty good at adapting and adjusting to whatever is going on. I suspect that's why I'm able to continue my everyday life without too much hassle. It is weird though. Well, I can mostly avoid thinking too hard about it, especially because it lets me see both my parents. There are times late at night where I wonder what would happen if I stay awake until the next sunrise. I haven't done it though. I'm scared that I will get stuck with only one version, and I don't want to give either one up yet. I found your podcast after a bit of researching. I like that you share other people's stories without judging, just giving them a place to exist. I'm writing this to you in the dark on my laptop so my mum doesn't think I'm awake. It feels good to write it all out like this, and who knows, maybe someone else listening will realise the same thing is happening to them. Oh, the stranger did slip something into my hand as I pulled away from him. I didn't even notice until I was on the bus home and released the tension from my tightly gripped hands. It had a few random sentences on it, but the word ignorance was in bold. I don't know. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt the story, but what is that? It's like there is a static sound somewhere. Wait. I can hear it without the headphones. What is that? Rowan, can you see what is going on? Is one of the systems busted? I know when I bought this place, he said some of this stuff was old, but it's been working fine until now. Wait, what is that? Can you hear?